Megan, I've got your post up here. I decided to change the colors. I was working because I felt they didn't resonate right with the theme of the poster. I'm so glad you did that. I am so glad you added color. I think it was just begging for color. Um, I've got the back of your poster up, and I've got a lot of comments here. I'm going to throw a lot at you here right now. So please, please don't get discouraged, and please understand that my comments are meant to help you and to nurture you as opposed to sounding discouraging. So please don't take them as discouraging. But we've got a lot of typographic errors here. So, and that's why we're here, right? We're here to learn. So let's go and take a look now. Okay, the main thing here. Well, let's go through the type first. Then we'll go look at the timeline. I think then we'll talk about the composition. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So right here, this is set in italic, and the italic is for what? And inside your head, you should be answering that question immediately. Italic is for emphasis. We don't italicize entire paragraphs because we don't need to emphasize entire paragraphs. Italic should be saved and used expressly for emphasis on single words or maybe even statements or proper names or things like that. But we don't ever want to set entire paragraphs in italic because it's just too difficult to work with. It's way too difficult to read. I do not recommend setting your type in italic. The next thing is our character count. And that, by the way, these are part of those 18 rules that we had. I think it was week 4 where we had that discussion board with the 18 rules where we added our rules. I recommend you go through those rules again. Also, the character count is extremely long. You're well over 100 characters here. Now, that begs for 2 columns of type. Optimal is anywhere between 50 and 70 characters, depending on the target audience. And that includes punctuation, all characters, punctuation, and spaces. So you want to count those up. You're probably about 120 here, but I would definitely consider using 2 columns of type here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. The rags don't look bad at all, but you do have some hyphens. I don't recommend hyphens in text body copy this short. Okay, let's go through the type. Okay, I'm not seeing any use of. It almost looks like an indent right there. I want to make sure that that's in alignment. That V in Vatican. 2003. There's a number. That's what I'm looking for. Old style. Nice, nice. Good job. Good job. I'm not seeing any use of dashes other than these hyphens. So I don't think that that's applicable at this point. M dash, N dash, and hyphen, the difference. Okay, so those are my recommendations for your type. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the timeline. Right now, I think, let's talk about proximity. These years are, I think they're too far from the type. I would reduce that space between the year and the event. Technically, that's a widow. These words on single lines are widows. You want to avoid that. And even in paragraph, even in body copy this short, it's just really, really odd to have a hyphen and have that. Or to have, but the point I'm trying to make is you want to avoid any portion or any word sitting on a line alone. Okay, that constitutes a widow, and that's something. It's type. Portfolio reviewers and hiring professionals will look at that first, above and beyond everything else, just to make sure that you're on the same page in terms of applying standard industry standard practices to your typography. Okay. I don't think we need the image in the background, that watermarked image. I don't think. I think it just adds something that we don't need. I mean, that almost exactly is reinforced right here. So I think adding it here is just a little redundant. Okay, as far as the timeline and the layout itself goes, I've already given you some comments on layout, but the timeline itself, it's not designed. I know that you have this kind of design element on the front of the poster, and I commented on that. To me, it fragments the front of the poster. It's creating unnecessary boxes and sections, and I think that points into a situation where we're isolating parts instead of creating harmony throughout the entire composition. We're creating separation by separating different areas of the composition. Do you see what I mean? Now, you've taken that same thing and you kind of transpose it back here to create the timeline. But again, we're doing the same thing. You're kind of creating this section over here. This just doesn't seem to be part of, it seems to be just separate. It also seems to throw the design into imbalance, being that this side is much, much lighter. And I think that all has to do with the timeline. I don't think that we're necessarily out of balance, although I would like to see this all move. I'd like to see a wider left margin. But I'm not down with the timeline, and the reason being is because it's not really designed. A timeline is something that should be designed, okay? Otherwise, it's just a chronological listing of events, and that's basically what we have here. We want a designed timeline, okay? So there you have it. Yeah, I think that one thing that might be interesting is if you want the image over here, and I say to increase the left margin, so that's going to force all the type over here, even with the two columns, they're going to force it. What might be a really neat technique would be to take that second column and just word wrap around. It will give her good padding, but just give a word wrap right around there. That might be a really interesting solution there. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, I'd love to see you design that timeline based on something that's present on the front of the poster. Also, by the way, I didn't mention this, but you definitely want to include the front of your poster. And I'm saying this not only for you, but also for anyone who's not posted yet that is looking, viewing this video. Definitely include the front of your poster. That way we can look at the front and the back and comment on adaptation. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that here because I don't have access to the front of the poster. Okay, so those are my comments and recommendations. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I know I've thrown a lot at you. Okay, I know that, but if you, I'm here, and you know I answer I answer emails pretty much immediately. So or messages within the LMS. So the point I'm trying to make is if you have any questions, get with me, and I'll get right back to you. I promise. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.